Today I choose to follow you.
Good morning, it's Wednesday, the 18th of January, and this is Coffee with God. If you have your Bibles, turn to John 10, verses 3 and 4, Johannes 10, 3 and 4. I want to start by saying there's two types of sheepfolds. There's the one that's man-built and it's out in the countryside. It's got some thorn branches and maybe some loose rocks placed in a circle, and the shepherd lies in the door, and it's just his sheep that go in there, and he stays with his sheep. When he gets back to town, there was another sheepfold. It was bigger, it was well built, structured, and what the various shepherds would do was they would put their various flocks together in this bigger sheepfold, and they would go home and sleep at home for a change. And then there would be a keeper of the door who would guard the various flocks. The next morning when the shepherd comes, he's not a thief, so he wouldn't climb in through the window or try and get in and steal the sheep. He would come to the door, and the innkeeper would open the door. Listen to what it says. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he brings out his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A couple of things here. He calls his own sheep by name. He calls them and he knows them, and they know him. They recognize his voice. And only his sheep, out of those various flocks that are mixed together, he had a unique call. And as he called, those sheep would respond. And then when his sheep came out, he doesn't herd them. He doesn't push them from the back. He doesn't force them. He walks in front, and they follow him because they hear or they know his voice. And there's so much there. This day, Jesus is calling and speaking to those of us who know his voice, and we should recognize the voice of God amongst the many voices that we hear in every day. And we must realize, sometimes we say, but I don't see God working. That's because he's going before. He's preparing for us. The Bible tells us that he's prepared good works for us beforehand so that we may do them. And here we get a picture of the shepherd walking ahead. But the important thing is he's talking all the time. And while he's talking, the sheep follow the shepherd because of the sound of his voice. When someone's being traumatized and they're lying semi-conscious or they're in a lot of pain, what happens is the people who are dealing with the physical will say to a loved one, someone whose voice they know, just keep talking, just reassure. And even if there's someone that they don't know, then part of the training is that the paramedic or whoever won't just in silence treat the broken leg or the wound or whatever needs to be treated, but they will talk reassuringly the whole time because the sound of the voice brings calm. So as you go into each day, ek weet nie wat vir jou voorlê in vandag en wat gaan met jou gebeur en waarmee is jy besig, wat is op jou agenda, met wie gaan jy sit en gesels vandag, maar in die proses van hierdie dag, in die daaglikse handel en wandel van hierdie dag, wil jy nie uitkyk vir die Here wat voorgaan, wat voorberei, wat vooraf die werk doen, wat het dan vir jou makliker maak om 'n verskil en 'n impak te maak in daai persoon. Jy weet, baie keer is ek geroep na 'n skoolvergadering waar daar 'n moeilike ouer is en almal is 'n bietjie op hulle sene wees, maar ek het omtrent nooit, amper nooit, 'n moeilike ouer gekry wat ek nie kon kalmeer en wat ons 'n goeie resultaat uit daai vergadering kon bewerk. Want ek dink voor die tyd bid 'n mens en die Here gaan vooruit. En daai moeilike ouer word deur die Here gekalmeer. Ek glo dit, ek weet dit. Nou hoekom bid ons nie voor ons enige vergadering, enige gesprek? Dis nie net 'n oggendgebed nie, maar deur die dag, soos wat Here, ek gaan nou met hierdie persoon sit en gesels. Gaan vooruit asseblief. Ek gaan nou in hierdie vergadering in. Help my om die beste resultaat hier te bewerk. And to put it into prayer and to realize that the Lord goes ahead, and then to listen while you're in the meeting. Listen while you're busy working through your day. Listen for the voice of the Lord speaking to you. He's the good shepherd who calls you And then he goes before so that you can follow and know where to go. Does he tell us beforehand? No, he's going ahead and he's speaking to us. So while we're moving, we just follow the sound of that voice, the promptings, the leadings, the inner urgings of our heart. And comes with practice. The more you practice, the more you recognize the voice. The more you recognize the voice, the more you follow. The more you follow, the more you hear the voice. And it just becomes a positive spiral that leads to good. So John 10, 3-4. If you hear his voice today, go out and allow him to lead you whilst he even speaks to you through the day. I think you have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. May the Lord bless you.